You are listening to the Artist to Artist podcast. My name is Angie. I'm a full-time freelance makeup artist, and today I'm talking about something every single makeup artist will experience, a client who is not happy with their makeup or a client who is not happy with the work you're doing. If this hasn't happened to you yet, it will. It doesn't mean you're bad at your job. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for this. It just means you're working real clients, real jobs. Not everybody's going to love what you do every single time, and that is normal. What matters is how you handle it. So let's talk about what to do when that happens, how to kind of prevent it in the first place, and how to stay grounded if this happens and it really shakes your confidence. The truth is, we are not psychic. We can't read minds. We rely on references, communication, experience, intuition, which comes with experience. Even when a client gives you a photo of a makeup look that they want, they still might not like it on themselves, and that's not your fault. Sometimes people don't know what they want until they see something they don't want. Sometimes they just wake up in a bad mood that day. Sometimes they're comparing themselves to some weird filtered image on Instagram, or I find a lot of people bringing me reference images which are AI generated, but that's probably a story for another day. You have to let go of the idea that every client should love everything you do because that kind of pressure is really going to be hard on you. I wanted to talk about where prevention of this matters more than how you recover. Let's talk about personal clients. And when I say personal clients on this episode or anything else in the future that you hear from me, I'm usually referring to bridal, special events, that type of thing where you're just dealing with individual people. The goal with these types of clients is to really avoid getting to the point where they're staring in the mirror unhappy and you are standing there scrambling, trying to fix it or figure out how to fix it. That situation where the makeup is done and you have to start kind of adjusting a bunch of things, that situation can be avoidable most of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time. There are things that you can do to not get to that point. I'll give you some examples of what I do. I always ask my personal clients for photo references and not just photos of what they like, photos of what they don't like as well. I ask for selfies or photos where they like how they look, even if it's not pro makeup application. They may have just done their makeup for an event one day and they really liked the way their makeup looks. I'll ask my clients to bring that. I have a ton of mood boards that I have created myself, saved and ready to go, and I'll pull them up right then and there in the middle of the application if I feel like we're not communicating well or things are just not clicking. If someone is very specific, and when I use the word specific, I'm being very generous here and kind. What I really mean is really picky, or detail oriented is another word you could use. I will check in more with those clients during my application. If they're easygoing and I feel like I can tell they trust me, I will check in less. This isn't about over explaining your work, proving yourself to these clients. It's just about creating some clarity. I wanted to talk about what you can actually say when clients don't like their makeup application because I do want you to leave this podcast with some sort of information that you can apply to the job. Let's say you do a makeup application, your client is not loving it, and you can feel the energy shift. Maybe they say it outright that they're not happy. Maybe they hesitate when they kind of look in the mirror, or maybe they do a quick thank you and then they walk 3 feet away from you and tell their friend or family member that they're not happy with the makeup application. A couple of things you can say, and I always recommend dealing with it right then and there. Don't let these things fester because it can get worse. You can say something like, let me know what's not working for you. Let's go through this together. You can also say, if there's something you're not happy with, we can easily adjust this stuff. It's just makeup. Let's look together and figure this out. You want to keep your tone calm, but also you want to remain collaborative. So no attitude, no panic, no defensiveness. You're there to get a job done. The other thing you can say is, now that you've seen the makeup on or you've seen yourself with makeup on your face, let's go back to the inspiration images and let's pick out the specific photos that maybe are closer to what you're thinking. You're really just revisiting those references in hopes that your client has a little more clarity of what they're looking for. Now, here's what you don't say, even though this is very hard sometimes. Well, that's what you asked for. I know we're all thinking this, but don't say it. You showed me this in this exact photo and you pull up the reference and show them the reference. Don't do that. Or, and I've heard this before on jobs, this is how I always do it. Even if all of that is true, it is not helpful in the moment. I also need you to remember that the client is not there to validate you. They're paying for a service and they're allowed to want something different or not be 100% with what you've done on them. It's not your job to agree with them, and I hope you understand what I'm saying there. It's just to make adjustments that get the makeup to the point where they are happy. We don't have to have the same opinion about makeup as our clients do to still do a good job. And something else to keep in mind, and I think this is very important, sometimes the reaction that you're getting has nothing to do with you or the makeup that you did. Some clients are dealing with deeper things. They might be dealing with anxiety, depression, body image issues, major life events. They might look in the mirror and feel off, and it's not really the application, it's something more internal. So keep that in mind. You don't always know what someone's walking in with emotionally, and you should know that yourself because I'm sure all of us have had really bad days where we've had to put a smile on our face and do a really good job. And things that are going on with your clients, they themselves may not even realize how much it is affecting the way they see themselves. And it doesn't mean their feelings aren't valid, but it also doesn't mean it's your fault. You kind of have to acknowledge this. I hate this phrase, but I'll say it anyway. Hold space for this type of thing without taking it on and taking the weight of that on yourself. That's part of the job, especially with personal clients where you're doing makeup for major life events. You'll find this is more of the case more often. You are working on their face, but sometimes what they're reacting to goes way deeper than what you can tell on the surface. I gave you a couple of things to think about when you're dealing with personal clients, but let's shift to commercial or campaign work or just work where you're on set. If someone on set doesn't like the makeup, you want to be able to offer solutions immediately. You might say, let me know what's not working with the makeup and I'll adjust it. Do you want me to adjust the finish of the makeup, the color? Is there too much makeup on? Are the cheeks too bright? Is the lip too dull? Be specific so you can get to the end result a little bit faster. And you may just want to say, would it help to pull up some references and go through them together? Even if it's not your fault, even if their art direction sucked or they gave you no references, you shouldn't act salty about the feedback. You want to stay in the game because these clients are going to remember how you handled the feedback. Makeup artists who are hard to work with do not get called back. And if you're in a situation where you do need to push back a little, just do it clearly. So you may say, I just need more specific feedback to be able to make the right change in the time I have. Or you can say, right now, I feel like I'm guessing. If you can point to something visual that I can change about the makeup, we will get there a little bit faster. In these scenarios, you always want to remain professional and solution oriented, and you want to be able to fix things quickly. That's what people on set are expecting from makeup artists that they hire. Let's say the client is rude or they're just being too vague with the feedback. I would say if they're being vague, call it out, but remember to stay calm. You may want to say something like, I really want you to be happy with the result. Can you show me a picture or describe what you were expecting in a little more detail? Or you can just say, I'm going to need a bit more detail to make changes that can help this. Now, if they're rude for no reason, for me personally, I have very low tolerance for rudeness just out of the blue. You can say something like, I'm here to help you feel your best or get the job done, but I need us to communicate respectfully. You can also say, if this isn't the right fit, I'm okay with ending this makeup application here. You don't have to let people talk down to you. Being in a service-based job does not mean being treated like garbage. Just to give you some insight to show you that when clients don't like your work, it's not the end of the world. I've had clients where some days the makeup is amazing, and then I've had other days where either I'm not doing my best or they're just not into what I'm doing, and we keep working together anyway, and we figure it out over time. Some days I have a model with terrible skin. Some days the lighting is off. Some days everything is just not working. And that doesn't mean our relationship is broken. It just means that we have a real working relationships with ups and downs, and we're kind of learning what works together. So there is a little bit of back and forth that's going to happen with your clients over the years. Not everything that you're going to be turning out is going to be exactly what they want. And there's going to be days where they are off too, and they're maybe not communicating well with you. And that's normal to have those things happen when you're working with clients. Now, if you are constantly hearing, this isn't what I wanted, or I don't like how I look, or I'm just not happy with this, then you kind of have to do some self-reflection and ask yourself, am I listening? Am I asking the right questions? Am I reading the energy in the room? Because that's a big part of what we do. Am I confident in adjusting for different situations, different tones, different situations that may come up? Am I too locked into routines with my makeup application? You do not have to be perfect at this job. There's no such thing, but you do have to stay open and flexible. Every artist needs to hear feedback, but what makes you better is knowing how to use it and to not fear it or try to avoid it. The point of this episode is just to make you breathe a little bit easier and to let you understand that all of us at one time or another have clients that are not happy with our work. And you're not alone, and this doesn't mean this is the end of your career. Handling client feedback, especially when it's uncomfortable, is part of the job. And it does get easier, I can promise you that, the more prepared, experienced, and confident you are. These things will roll off your back the more you experience negative feedback or feedback that's not maybe 100% what you were expecting. There's always a lot of questions that people have for me when I talk about this topic. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on one of your podcast providers, head over to my YouTube channel. I'll link in the show notes. Let me know in the comments if you do have any follow-up questions, if you want me to talk about something more specific than what I've covered here in this podcast. And I'm happy to do that for you. So that's everything for this week. I will talk to you next week. Bye.